assertion that Donald Bren could technically purchase a fighter jet or a howitzer or a tank. You said that those weapons aren't...
I said a tank and a plane were not guns.
Okay, so you said that those weapons aren't considered guns, but where do we draw the line between what's acceptable as a firearm and what's not acceptable? And when we start going down that path, are we not then regulating gun ownership?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, you can't own your own tactical nuclear weapon either. Pleasurable as that might be. For the deterrent effect, right? You'd never want to use it. It'd ruin your credibility. But you'd want to let all your neighbors know that you have it in your basement. With your large collection of rats. You're right. There's a line, but the line strikes me as such an extreme line over the definition of what is or is not a gun. I would suspect that if there were really things called laser guns, like in the real world, as opposed to, and I'm sure there are in the world, they're just not being mass produced yet, but perhaps you could define them as not being guns because they don't exude bullets or pellets. Something that was larger than a bullet or a pellet, then you get into the question of how big does the bullet have to be before it's no longer a bullet. I don't know. I'm perfectly happy to let the Supreme Court make that determination if somebody wants to attempt to pass a law to regulate gun ownership at those extremities. But for all intents and purposes, if we're not talking about the extremities, if we're talking about firearms as conventionally understood, then there's not going to be a problem. Because you have a current court who's likely to be in place for some time, perhaps loathing the error of their ways, but they made back-to-back decisions over a 2.5-year period that first said that it was an individual right pertaining to the District of Columbia, which didn't apply to any other state, and then took a case from one of the most murder-ridden cities in this country, the president's hometown, Chicago, which has one of the strictest gun control regimes in the country, Chicago. And they said you can't regulate guns that way. That it's an individual right. So it's possible, Professor Schoenfeld's right, courts make mistakes. They don't make mistakes and then undo them with any kind of regularity. But over somebody's lifetime, they could undo this. But for now, they've dealt with the militia issue. That it's not just consigned as a right to prepare you to join and defend a collective group of people. It is an individual right that you have.
Question for Professor Schoenfeld.
I just want to clarify something. Arms list is like a Craigslist.
Exactly.
However, if you were a bad guy trying to get a gun anyway, you're going to get it without going to an FFL, which is a license in between middlemen. But arms list, you're still just being connected to someone. And there's forums like calguns.net where you can find arms as well. So I just want to clarify that arms list, it provides you a method to contact someone, but you still legally, if you're going to do it, have to go through an FFL.
I thought that the way our law currently stands, if you're buying a gun from another person, that doesn't have to be registered.
No, it has to be through an FFL. Handgun, 10-day wait. Long rifle, 10-day wait.
Everywhere in the country or just in California?
As far as California, I'm pretty sure it's California.
Well,
I'm not sure.
California specific.
Yeah.
So I think if you lived in Nevada, you could get the gun more easily.
Correct.
California is.
Yeah, California is very specific. And other comment, something about where do we draw the line? I just want to clarify that where do we draw the line is something called a strict lower. It has a serial number on it. Should they pass some sort of law tomorrow, the president passes an executive order, if you have a strict lower, you're good. Meaning all it is just a lower portion, no barrel, nothing. You couldn't fire anything out of it. But you're still going to wait a 10-day waiting period, a gross is what it's called, a 10-day waiting period to do a background check on you. So there's no way you can do any damage with that lower. But that's where they draw the line of what a long gun is considered. You get it from out of state, it comes in, you pay taxes on it in California, and you wait 10 days.